This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Granic Allen. Today, we're addressing a major and highly contentious development in Ottawa that has faith communities, civil liberties advocates, and legal experts sounding the alarm. Bill C-9, known as the Combating Hate Act, has been introduced by the federal government with the stated goal of strengthening Canada's hate crime and hate speech laws, including new offenses related to intimidation and obstruction at places of worship and other community institutions. So, as the bill moves through committee, a proposed change has ignited fierce debate: the removal of a long-standing criminal code provision that protects good faith religious expression based on religious belief from prosecution under hate speech laws. That protection has historically ensured that preaching, teaching, quoting scripture, and expressing sincerely held religious views are not treated as criminal acts. Critics warn that eliminating this safeguard could create profound legal uncertainty for clergy, faith-based educators, parents, and everyday Canadians of faith who may now fear that Orthodox beliefs could be interpreted as hate speech. To unpack what this could mean for religious freedom, free expression, and the future of Canada's constitutional protections, I'm joined by John Carpay, president of the Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedoms, and Barry Bussey, president of First Freedoms Foundation. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today for this important discussion. So why don't we start with you, John? How would the removal of this religious exemption under Bill C-9 practically impact everyday faith-based teaching and Canadians?
Well, it creates an incentive for Catholic priests, evangelical pastors, Orthodox rabbis, Muslim imams to never teach what their scriptures say about human sexuality, in particular the religious teaching that gay sex is sinful in the faith traditions, from the sacred scriptures of these religions. And currently, the defense that now exists, that's always been on the books, is that if you, in good faith, express an opinion based on belief in a religious text, that can be a defense against a hate speech prosecution. Now, considering the cultural climate in Canada, and we've seen people censored and their professional license threatened by publicly disagreeing with transgender ideology, by publicly disagreeing in British Columbia with the sexual orientation, gender identity curriculum, you can get into trouble. This is the cultural climate, and we do have a double standard in prosecutions. So it just creates a risk, not a guarantee, but there's a risk that religious leaders could be prosecuted simply if they publicly teach and proclaim what their own scriptures say about human sexuality.
So, Barry, is this true? If this safeguard is removed, could a pastor or religious educator in, say, a faith-based school face criminal charges simply for quoting scripture or teaching traditional religious beliefs, whether Hindu, Islamic, Sikh, under this bill?
Well, I think all we have to do is consider the discussion that went on in committee as it was working its way through Parliament, where Mark Miller, who is a minister of the Crown now, and stated that he opined that Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Romans, and there's other passages, and I'm quoting from him. He says there's clear hatred towards, for example, homosexuals. I don't understand how the concept of good faith can be invoked if someone were literally invoking a passage from, in this case, the Bible. There are other religious texts that say the same thing. So it seems to me that government is making a very strong public endorsement to the idea that religious communities, you need to be on notice, that if you are going to go against the narrative, the government narrative, the ideological positions of this government. And we have to look at this too, I think, from a context over the last 10 years. One of the things we've seen the federal government be very clear that any religious community that does not accept the ideological position of the government with respect to all kinds of cultural issues, you're not going to get, for example, money for Canada Summer Jobs grants and so
Right.
on.
It's like a
And
litmus.
then yeah, and I mean, it's just like it's kind of like a steady. It's it's death by a thousand cuts,